Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Into the Badlands, Cobra Fang Panther Claw. And I enjoyed this episode, but I think that the transitions needed to be, I think that we should have stayed longer on certain storylines to get them forward, because some of the transitions are like, oh god, trying to keep track of everything was getting a little bit crazy, but this is them trying to wrap up the season and the show in kind of one swoop, so I can understand why it seems like, oh god, there's so much going on in this episode. But I still really enjoyed what was going on. We got a lot of good fight scenes, and we got a lot of good plot development and character development. So, the episode starts off, and we are at Pilgrim and NK going up into the monastery, and we set that off with a great ass fight scene where we see Pilgrim come in. We see that the Abbot's already in their black-eyed mode, and of course, Pilgrim goes into his, and so does the rest of his people, and it was just really kind of nuts. It was cool to see kind of how everybody's kind of fighting style led them into certain tiers. We know that the Abbots are more versed in using their gift than, of course, the new ones that Pilgrim has made. And we see that going throughout the fighting styles, as we see that most of his Harbingers are kind of getting a little bit overwhelmed by the Abbots. And, of course, Pilgrim's able to use his ability to get them out of gift mode and takes out one of their guys. But then we see MK really just letting loose and just really going to town on them, killing two with his swords on one bit, and then the Abbots decide to, you know what? That dude's kind of a threat, and they converge on him and try and take him out. But, of course, he's able to get out of that situation and delivers a crazy-ass kill where he stabs the dude in the eyes with his swords. This, of course, is just a prelude to the amazing fight sequence that we get between Pilgrim and the Master. And of course, Pilgrim's giving her the ultimatums of wanting these people that she's put to sleep and everything, and calling her a traitor to them and a tyrant and everything. And she's like, you have no idea what power you're messing with. And then at first they start off fighting and they don't start utilizing their gifts. But then once they both go into gift mode, it's really kind of crazy because you see them in their different mastering abilities of these fighting styles. We see in the beginning that the Master is pretty much, at least on the surface, in control of the situation of just like guiding Pilgrim around. They're seeing them fight around that candlestick holder was completely nuts. And then, of course, that's when Pilgrim starts really just getting crazy. We know that the Master has more years of experience, but it seems that Pilgrim's is a stronger kind of gift with the amount of power he can put behind it. Because he gets to a point where he just takes her out of the gift mode and just completely wrecks her, breaks her arm, and just like bloodies her and pushes her into a spot, and it's just like crazy. And of course, we see that they bring in the other kind of purpled abbots, the ones that aren't completely trained yet, and of course, they start kind of giving the lowdown on what's going on there. So that was a main story beat that we got. We also got one with Tilda and Gaius that converges with the Baron Chow. And then, of course, we get Sunny, Baji, and Co. dealing with Ankara. And another good story that we get is the Black Lotus. So we can kind of go through and do each one kind of in order. With the Master, and of course Pilgrim and MK, the Pilgrim takes him down. We see all of the people put to sleep and everything. Of course, the Master's like, you can't wake them up or anything. And of course, we see that MK and Pilgrim are just sifting through everything to try and find out what's going on. And these deliver some interesting story beats, especially when Pilgrim is conversing with the Master and talking to her about what's going on with him. He, of course, starts showing kind of fatigue, and she goes, oh, it's the headaches that you've got. Well, the thing is, your perversion. The gift wasn't in you naturally, and of course, as you continue to use it, they're going to get stronger, and it's going to fight against you until you're consumed by your darkness. It's like, that's a pretty good and interesting way to just explain it to us. It's like, okay, now we kind of know what's going on with Pilgrim. It's like, you could have an idea of what's going on, but it's cool to have that direct explanation of like, okay, you would think that since it wasn't his power, he wouldn't be able to control it as effectively, and now that we know that it's fighting him too, now he's in a race against the clock to see how that kind of goes. That also brings in the effect of what about his harbingers? What's going on with them? We're going to see repercussions on that way. Of course, MK is kind of gloating over the Master, but the Master's like, listen, we wanted to pretty much put you to sleep because we knew that you'd kill us. And it's like, no, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to set them free and everything. And we're, okay, these people have been put to sleep. We're going to have to see how this works out because some of them could have actually needed to be put to sleep like this in their acupuncture comas. And we'll have to see if there's any completely crazy screwball people there. So we see that Pilgrim decides to go through. He finds the kind of scroll book, and that, of course, dovetails into information that we're getting with Sunny and Baji's, because the needles become important there as well. And they're able to figure that out. Pilgrim goes down, uses his gift, and is able to unlock them and gets through all of them, but of course, it's really taking its toll on him. He starts bleeding black at one point. It's like, holy crap. But, of course, MK is able to talk to one of the people that was woken up, Eli, and he'd run away because he wanted to protect his brothers because he was all that they had left. But of course, the Master couldn't accept that and decided to put him to sleep. And that it was, he could feel the needles in there and everything, but he was trapped in his body. And of course, MK brings up the one person that he had seen that was going to happen to, and he's like, hey, listen, they're probably dead and everything. Help us. Join Pilgrim. Join our cause and all that. He's like, sure. Just tell Pilgrim whatever he needs. I'll be there for him. I'm like, that's not really that much of a choice. I mean, Pilgrim says that he's going to be giving these people a choice, but we've seen that throughout the Badlands of people having these high ideals and then failing to follow through and becoming the next great tyrant. So we'll have to see how that goes. That was how MK and Pilgrim's whole storyline went out, and I'm really excited to see how that pops up. The next big one that we got was Sunny and Baji and Co. just pretty much driving with a drugged Ankara. And she, of course, starts waking up and muttering in her sleep, but the thing is, she's using the power still and is messing with the engine. And it's like, oh god. We see Baji talking about, like, birds of prey that he hasn't eaten and everything. It was kind of cool because he's just blabbering on because it just feels uncomfortable because Sunny doesn't trust Widow, and we've got essentially a gift time bomb in the back because we don't know how long it's going to, well, they know that it'll take about half a day to get to the monastery, but they don't know if she's going to be knocked out that long. But, of course, they're able to get the truck going again, and they actually get to one of the Abbott safe houses. I'm like, okay, we need to look and see what's going on in here because we need to fix this engine. We need to make sure she stays asleep. So the Widow goes in, she's able to find the needles and everything, and Sunny pretty much gives her the lowdown of, after all this, I'm coming for you. Because I could have forgiven and forgotten you about Vale. Then you sent killer people after me. So, screw you. Now, it's really strange because I could say that one character is being unreasonable or not, but it's not really that clear cut. The Widow is rightfully trying to make amends for what she did. But the thing is, Sunny's also in the right in that she keeps saying these things and she keeps trying to do these ideals and she keeps doing these stupid asshole things and she kind of needs that to be put in her place. And this is one of the consequences she has to deal with. So we'll kind of have to see what that kind of goes through and what'll happen if we even get to that point. But I like that development of, yes, there's a certain amount of anger that Sunny has at the Widow for all these things that she's done. But the thing is, he's also got the point of he has seen her as a threat that, like, after every turn, she keeps doing these kinds of things to him, even if she, like, makes it clear that she's not. So that's a tactically sound decision to be like, okay, I need you on my side to help with this whole Pilgrim stuff, but after that, we gonna settle up. So that was a nice little bit that we got there. Of course, we get them pretty much trying to stick the needles into Ankara, and Ankara's like, hey, take this out of me. Your friends are in trouble and everything, and gives her a kind of vision that dovetails into what's going on with Tilda and Gaius. So let's switch over to that because that kind of makes it a little bit easier. Tilda and Gaius pretty much, they're talking about family and everything, and they get to Iron Fan with Baron Chow. They get surrounded and they get captured pretty effectively too. And they get put in there. Gaius gets tortured by Chow because she believes that Gaius was the one that killed their mother, and she was like, hey, I only let you be alive because of mother, so screw you. Tilda, of course, would be used more as kind of a, well, I really like Chow's effective kind of route on here because she's like, hey, you don't have a Baron, I don't have a Regent, why don't you become my Regent? And that tactically makes sense. I love it when a character who's back against the wall and everything, and you kind of see them doing all different kinds of things to get out of that. This is a tactically sound decision. Now, granted, she would have to have a better way to kind of go about it, because Tilda's like, I ain't doing that. Like, oh yeah, your mother had fire as well, and talking about how they pretty much took her in as a cog, and then just put her in a cold storage place, and it took like 220 days to break her. And like, figure this is day one as she's trying to break Tilda into being her own kind of slave kind of thing. It's like, God damn, that's not good. And of course, this is the vision that Ankara gives to the widow, and surprisingly enough, once they start bringing that up, Aji's like, don't trust anything she says. But the thing is, somebody's going, hey, she hasn't technically lied to us so far. You know? So, he's right on that. So, the party splits up. We see that the widow and Nyx go off to go save Tilda and Gaius. And, of course, they're trying to figure out what to do with Ankara. Of course, this is kind of where we see the Black Lotus and more information come into effect. We've seen throughout this episode that the Black Lotus forces are tracking Ankara and our main group, and that they're using the Geiger counter kind of stuff to kind of track them. They were at the market town. He starts going into this one dude talking about the old woman and knows Ankara's name and about the monastery and the abbot. Just like, this is kind of interesting. And they're just coming step by step closer and closer. And then we get a lot of information from Ankara. She's like, listen, I'm dying. It's too late. The Black Lotus are coming here. And Baji, I want you to rectify my mistake. I want you to fix my mistake. And she starts going into how the monastery, he had housings of the abbots and scribes. And there's this one scribe, Magnus. I wonder who that could be. And that they both wanted to find Azra. And they kind of go through it because they heard that Azra had been rebuilt after the world had fallen. And as they're going through, and it's like a month trip by sea, Magnus betrays her, poisons her wine, leaves her for dead, and of course led the assault and the burning of Azra. And of course there were only a few people that survived, being Sunny, his sister, Pilgrim. And of course she wants Baji and them to kind of fix that, and of course Magnus was of the Black Lotus and everything, and they kind of wanted all that information. And it's like, oh God, that's completely crazy. We continue back onto that, and we find out that Ankara says that at this point, Pilgrim can't be beaten. And of course, Sunny's like, well, what if I unlock my power? Because evidently, he had a great power inside of him that was locked away to make sure that the Black Lotus didn't come looking for him. She said that it was impossible for it to be unlocked unless his sister did it, and she's dead. It's like, okay, so we are going to get a big backup matchup between Sunny and Pilgrim, because when we saw the previews for the next episode, I think we saw a character that'll potentially be Sunny's sister, because you don't lay out that kind of information and be like, okay, the only one that could really beat Pilgrim would be someone who would have that kind of power level similar to him. And of course, it's going to be, okay, Sunny, we got to find your sister and all that kind of stuff. And she's dead, but we'll have to see how that works out. Because of course, the Black Lotus breaks into there and pretty much puts everybody on lockdown. They did take out the needle and Ankara went gift mode, but they were able to capture her, and we find out that the one Black Lotus guy that had been going out throughout the episode is Magnus, and calls her a fool and everything, and he asks who Baji is, and says, huh, no, I'm nobody, and then stabs him, and pretty badly. I'm like mortal wounded here, and I'm like, no, damn it, this is how Baji goes out? I kind of wanted it to be in a big-ass fight scene and everything, and even then I'm kind of holding out. I'm like, oh, Ankara might be able to heal him if she gets out of the thing, but of course he stabs Ankara and kills her. It's like, oh god. But the thing is, before they attacked, Magnus said, I want Sanzo alive. So Sunny, of course, is important to their plans, so that also brings me into that potentially his sister might have been captured or is now part of the Black Lotus for some reason. She could have decided that she could have faked her death and potentially went to be with the Black Lotus to protect her brother. And it's like, that could be interesting. So Sunny had been knocked out. They take him, and we see Baji breathe his last breath. And I know we've seen other characters kind of come back from woundings kind of like this, but I think that this is going to be Baji's last out. Damn it. But it works for what we've seen. It gives the Black Lotus more credibility as a just force to be reckoned with, and evidently they want Sunny for some reason, and it'll be cool to see where we go from there. So, the finishing out of the whole Tilda and Gaius and Widow and Nyx part was completely great. We see that she is trying to give a little reward to Tilda and is just getting ready to take out her brother, and because she is still operating under the assumption that her brother killed her mother. And of course, Tilda then rubs it in her face, and she's getting ready to go after Tilda. But that's, of course, when we start seeing the shurikens come in, and we see that her guards are getting taken out and all that. And Nyx pops in. Baron Chow's like, who the hell are you? But of course, the Widow comes in, and she tells Nyx to take Gaius and Tilda and get out of there. So we got that setup of the fight scene going. Now, I really like what's going on with Nyx's character because we've seen her talking with Sunny and she's like, hey, you think you'll be alright here? Yeah, you've done more than enough. Go and help this. I just like how Sunny's character can just help bring out more out of other characters, even if they're just supporting. So I like that Nyx has come into this effect and been like, okay, yeah, I'll help you out, Widow. We'll get these guys out because we need to take out Pilgrim. So she gets Tilda and Gaius out of there, and they're really screwed up. Tilda looks really bad, and Gaius being burned around his chest and everything was like, ooh. And we get a great fight scene between the Widow and Baron Chow, where the Widow is using her signature sword, and Baron Chow's using these like hook swords, and just seeing them just fly around masterfully was really great. And of course, the kill of the week comes in the form of the Widow taking out Baron Chow, because we get to an effect where she gets her on this like swing thing and then just chops her head off, and it was glorious because you see the power of each of these people, and they are barons for a reason. They are masterful tacticians, and they are masterful martial artists in their own rights, and it was just crazy seeing them go around this crazy, dilapidated funhouse, starting on a merry-go-round, and then ending on this swing set thing, and it was a fitting end to Baron Chow's part and the whole war with that. Now, we've gotten to the point where the Widow is the only Baron in the Badlands. Now, granted, she still has to deal with Pilgrim, but that's a complete and utter power move and a complete change for the Badlands, so we'll have to see how she's able to rectify her forces on taking on Pilgrim, and if she'll be able to bring in Baron Chow's forces as well, if she's able to offer amnesty and people will take it, or will there be holdout forces? I mean, granted, we're moving into the in-game scenario for this, so I doubt there'll be a lot of it, because we need this convergence of these two forces. So I'm just really excited to see where this is going to be going next, how the Black Lotus is going to factor into what's going on with Pilgrim and Widow and this whole crazy war that we've got. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.